of the year. Snow stranding drivers on the interstate for hours. Water rescues as torrential rains swamp several cities. That system tonight moving east. Also tonight, the break in the case. A teen wanted in connection with the stabbing death of Tessa Majors, located by authorities in New York City. Is he the one who stabbed her? Impeachment showdown. President Trump continuing his Christmas Twitter storm, slamming Nancy Pelosi as one Republican senator says she was, quote, disturbed by Mitch McConnell's claim he's in lockstep with the White House heading into the Senate impeachment trial. Killers on the loose. Two mass robbery suspects walk into a Denny's just after Christmas night with guns drawn, opening fire, customers on the ground, one killed, another wounded. Tonight, police asking for your help. The ski resort avalanche, the massive snowslide coming down on a marked trail, the race to dig out trapped holiday skiers. Notre Dame in peril, the grim Christmas message about the possible fate of the iconic cathedral after that devastating fire earlier this year. And caught in the act, the Amazon delivery driver spotted on surveillance dropping off a package before allegedly taking off with it. Why the sheriff is now demanding answers from Amazon.
This is ABC World News Tonight with David Muir.
And good evening. Thanks for joining us on this Thursday. I'm Tom Yamas, in for David. And we begin tonight with a deadly winter slam the day after Christmas, one of the busiest travel days of the year. The powerful system striking millions across the Southwest, dumping so much snow in the mountains, look at that authorities closed I-5 north of Los Angeles. Some drivers stranded for up to 7 hours. At lower elevations, a deluge, heavy rains, high winds, and a flash flood threat. Water rescues reported in several Southern California cities. And there are winter watches and warnings in effect tonight across 12 states, and that system, you see it there, is moving east. More on the forecast with Rob in a moment, but we start with ABC's Will Carr along a stretch of I-5 in Southern California.
Tonight, snow snarling traffic in the Golden State, with millions trying to drive home on the busiest travel day of the holiday season.
Looks like a car spun out.
Just outside of Los Angeles, a 1-2 punch, up to 2 feet of snow in some places, coupled with strong winds. With low visibility, authorities shut down the part of I-5 known as the Grapevine and part of I-15, trapping drivers in whiteout conditions.
Never imagined this would happen, but yeah, look around. This is us.
Johnny Lim was stuck for 8 hours before help finally arrived to get him out. Some stranded in the snow overnight, including a truck driver found dead this morning in his rig. The cause of death now under investigation. At lower elevations, torrential rain.
It's pretty bad out there, like windshield wipers, full blast.
Leaving cars swimming through intersections. One stranded, pushed out by a police cruiser. The LA Fire Department rescuing a 52-year-old man from 6 feet of cold water overnight.
We have a victim back to the shoreline.
Racing him to get checked out for hypothermia. In San Diego, more water rescues and massive trees crashing into cars and homes. One man killed by a huge falling redwood in Northern California.
All right, Will Carr joins us now from along the I-5. That freeway shut down for hours. Will, what are officials telling you about the conditions out there?
Well, Tom, snow is still blanketing the mountainside behind me, and it's not often that you can stand in the middle of I-5. This is a major thoroughfare here in Los Angeles County. You can see CHP is turning all of these drivers around, and at this point, we don't know when the interstate will reopen as the storm moves to the Midwest with more of those blizzard conditions. Tom.
Will Carr on that developing story tonight. Will, thank you. And this deadly storm system is far from done, sweeping toward the Midwest this evening. ABC senior meteorologist Rob Marciano has the latest. Rob, good evening.
Good evening, Tom. This is a compact and powerful storm that will be expanding across the country. It's going coast to coast. Already, check it out. We have winter storm alerts from Minnesota all the way back through Southern California, where the center of that low still sits. So it's pushing more in the way of heavy precip and wind into Vegas and Phoenix tonight. The heavy snows will get into New Mexico and the San Juans of Colorado tomorrow. Tomorrow night, snows in Denver, but I think the heavier snows will be in the central and northern plains. If you're flying through Minneapolis, could see some snow delays there on Saturday. Rain delays in Chicago Saturday, because that's the warm sector. Record highs there again, and that will spawn severe storms across the Mid-South Saturday and Sunday, with the whole mess getting into the East Coast by Monday. Tom?
All right, Rob, we thank you for that. Next tonight, a 2-week manhunt is over as police in New York City say they've located a 14-year-old suspect wanted for questioning in connection with the murder of Tessa Majors. that Barnard College freshman fatally stabbed at a city park near campus. The teen detained and questioned by authorities and submitting DNA tests before he was released, but police say tonight they believe he is the one who stabbed her. Here's ABC's Ariel Reshef.
Tonight, the NYPD announcing that major break in the murder of Barnard College freshman Tessa Majors, a 14-year-old on the run for 2 weeks who police believe stabbed Majors to death, located and questioned, ending a massive manhunt that haunted the campus community. The city's chief of detectives tweeting, "This was a significant development. Although he has since been released to the custody of his attorneys, the investigation remains very active." The police stressing lawyers for the teen were present while he was detained. Officials say the 14-year-old was found this morning in the Bronx, tracked using electronic surveillance, brought in, photographed, fingerprinted, and swabbed for DNA. Majors apparently fighting back during the apparent mugging, leaving bite marks on one of her attackers. A 13-year-old in custody, now facing a felony murder charge, allegedly implicating himself and 2 other teens from his middle school in the grisly crime.
I think it should disturb any New Yorker when we have a child involved in something this serious.
Attorneys for the 13-year-old cautioning against any rush to judgment, saying our client is a 13-year-old child who is presumed innocent with no juvenile record.
All right, Ariel joins us now live from the scene where that stabbing took place. And Ariel, I want to go back to that 14-year-old who was apprehended and released this morning. He's not been charged?
That's right, Tom. Police say that 14-year-old who was detained and then released has not been charged. Pending the outcome of that DNA test, the NYPD is not commenting further, saying this is an ongoing investigation. Tom?
Ariel Reshef with those new developments tonight. Ariel, thank you. We want to turn now to politics and the looming impeachment showdown in the Senate. With the first sign, a party line vote may not be a sure thing for the Trump administration. Moderate Alaska Republican Senator Lisa Murkowski, quote, disturbed by Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, saying he's in lockstep with President Trump and the White House counsel. At the same time, President Trump continuing his Christmas Day Twitter storm, insisting the whole thing is a scam. ABC's Rachel Scott is in Florida with the president.
Tonight, a potential crack in the president's wall of Republican support.
When I heard that, I was disturbed.
Moderate Republican Senator Lisa Murkowski of Alaska is reacting in an interview with KTUU to Majority Leader Mitch McConnell's promise to work in total coordination with the White House during the Senate trial to come.
To me, it means that we have to take that step back from being hand in glove with the defense.
Murkowski is one of several lawmakers under the microscope. When Congress returns from the holiday recess, all eyes will be on a group of centrist senators, including Republicans Susan Collins and Mitt Romney, but also Democrats Doug Jones and Joe Manchin, red state senators who may feel pressure to vote against an impeachment conviction. In the House, not a single Republican voted in favor of either article of impeachment.
We did lose one Republican vote in the House.
And while the Republican majority in the Senate makes Trump's acquittal all but certain, it's not clear whether he will be able to tout unanimous Republican support.
If it means that I am viewed as one who looks openly and critically at every issue in front of me rather than acting as a rubber stamp for my party or my president, I'm totally good with that.
President Trump in Florida on the attack, railing against House Speaker Nancy Pelosi for withholding the articles of impeachment. The president writing, Democrats said they wanted to rush everything through to the Senate, adding, now they don't want to go fast anymore.
All right, Rachel Scott joins us now from West Palm Beach, Florida. And Rachel, as you mentioned, with the Senate needing a 2/3 majority, it's highly unlikely he'll be removed, but there are other matters in the trial where the centrist senators could have a major impact.
That's right, Tom. Any vote on whether witnesses should have to testify only requires a simple majority. So any Republican defections on those matters would be critical. Tom?
Rachel Scott for us tonight. Rachel, thank you. We move on now to a pair of killers on the loose after a robbery turned deadly at a Virginia Denny's early this morning. Chilling surveillance footage. Take a look at this, showing the 2 masked suspects entering the restaurant, one clearly waving a gun. Customers and employees ordered to the ground. 2 people were shot. 1 did not survive. Here's ABC's Adrian Bankert with the manhunt now underway.
Tonight, a manhunt for these two armed robbery suspects who shot two people at a Denny's in Manassas, Virginia. The suspects seen on security cameras enter the restaurant after 2 a.m., both armed, one pulling a pistol, the other a baton, demanding cash from employees and customers and ordering more than 20 people to the ground.
One person shot in the stomach and right leg. One person supposedly shot in the head. We're advising now one tourniquet being applied.
As the suspects were leaving, one of the men shot a 34-year-old customer seated on the floor cooperating with their orders. Then police say Yusuf Osgar, picking up a delivery order, unwittingly held the door open for the suspects. The 56-year-old hit in the head with a baton, then shot to death.
Two males, 6 foot, all dressed in black, both with handguns, ran through the parking lot.
The 34-year-old tonight is in the hospital with serious injuries, but is expected to survive. Tom, the suspects didn't even leave with any money. Still, police believe that this incident is linked to 3 recent robberies in the area that occurred in just the past few days. Tom?
Adrian Bankert with that chilling video tonight. Adrian, thank you. Next tonight, the tragic turn for an ESPN college football reporter who died after battling pneumonia on his 34th birthday. Here's ABC's Gio Benitez.
Tonight, an outpouring of tributes.
I'm Edward Ashoff, ESPN.
After the sudden death of 34-year-old ESPN reporter Ed Ashoff following a battle with pneumonia.
People wanted to be around him. They wanted to get to know him, and that's why he connected with everybody.
Ashoff, who covered college football for the network, tweeting just before Thanksgiving, "For someone who never gets sick, I've had some fever, cough, fatigue, flu thing for about 2 weeks now." By early December, Ashoff said what started as a virus had turned into bilateral pneumonia in both lungs. He was put on antibiotics but was still struggling. Quote, "Days are getting better, but nights are basically fever and coughing and sweating." Ashoff passing away on Christmas Eve, his 34th birthday.
We have to remember, old, young, healthy, or chronic medical condition, pneumonia has the potential to be fatal.
And Tom, doctors remind us that dying from pneumonia is relatively uncommon for 34-year-olds, but it does kill 50,000 people every year. There is a pneumonia vaccine for anyone over the age of 65 or with certain medical conditions. As always, check with your doctor. Tom.
Such a shocking turn of events here, though. All right, Gio, thank you. Overseas now in the security scare for the Israeli Prime Minister. Benjamin Netanyahu rushed from an election rally after Israeli officials say a rocket was fired into the country from the Gaza Strip on Hanukkah. The Iron Dome intercepting that rocket. No casualties reported. Israeli aircraft also carried out multiple strikes at a Hamas military base. And developing in the Philippines, at least 20 people are dead and many more missing after a Christmas Day typhoon. Typhoon Fan Phone triggering widespread flooding, causing landslides and knocking out power to entire provinces. Authorities estimate 25,000 holiday travelers were stranded after the Coast Guard prevented ships from leaving port. And in Paris, a grim Christmas message about Notre Dame Cathedral after that devastating fire in April. The rector acknowledging the 850-year-old structure visited by millions each year may not survive. Here's ABC's Lama Hassan.
Tonight, new questions about whether Paris's beloved Notre Dame Cathedral will ever be fully restored. That devastating fire in April ripping through the historic church, sending its famous spire plummeting through the cathedral's roof. For the first time in over 200 years, Christmas midnight mass moved from Notre Dame to a nearby church. The church's rector now revealing the structure is still so fragile, there's only a 50% chance it might be saved. Today, it is not out of danger, he says. It will be out of danger when we take out the remaining scaffolding. There is still a risk. 50,000 tubes of scaffolding installed for a planned renovation before the fire is now threatening the cathedral's Gothic vaults.
General.
We saw the extent of the damage firsthand back in May, the French general put in charge of rebuilding, showing David the architecture that had kept the cathedral intact.
There is no question that these arches, built in the 12th century, saved the cathedral. Yes.
Tom, the plan is to remove all the scaffolding to assess the damage before beginning the reconstruction in 2021. If the church survives, it might be safe enough for tourists in 2024, but a full restoration
will take even longer. Tom.
Lama Hassan with that major headline out of Paris tonight. Lama, thank you. And there's still much more ahead on World News Tonight this Thursday. The Mountainside Rescue, an avalanche barreling through a busy ski resort. The latest from search teams on the ground. Also, the unexpected porch pirate and Amazon.